time he was sober, my presence irritated him. My heart talks to me, but main nahi sun raha, koi nahi sun raha. Look into the mirror and ask yourself this question: what do you want?
Welcome to the show Real and Real Characters. T.T. Srinath is a sensitivity trainer qualified with the Indian Society for Applied Behavioral Science. He is a student of Gestalt, Australia, an accredited master coach, and a serious participant in the Tavistock model of group facilitation. T.T. Srinath also trained with the British Psychodrama Association, specialized in sociodrama and action methods, and is a stage actor working with the oldest English theatre company in India, the Madras Players, in Chennai. Over the last 29 years, he has worked with more than 30,000 individuals from many countries and across a wide range of managerial cadres, coming from a variety of manufacturing and service industries, educational institutions, public sector undertakings, and NGOs. Srinath's definition of success is to allow himself to become the person he is meant to be. For him, strength of character is to be congruent between what one feels and says. His dictum is that what you believe is what you see, and if you genuinely look for good in people, you will discover it. Welcome to Real and Real Life Characters, Mr. Srinath. It's a pleasure to have you here. So tell me, which is the movie, which is the character which has fascinated you, and why?
When you asked me the other day about what is the movie that has left a lasting impression on me or has impacted me, the immediate movie that came to my mind was this film called Anupama.
Anupama, meaning incomparable, is a 1966 Hindi film starring Dharmendra, Sharmila Tagore, Shashikala, Devan Verma, Sureka Pandit, and Tarun Bose. It is the story of a girl who is blamed by her alcoholic father for the death of her mother at childbirth, and the trauma that the girl goes through as a result of this. The film was directed by Rishikesh Mukherjee and is known as one of his best films. It was written by Rajinder Singh Bedi with screenplay by Bimal Datta. Cinematography was by Jayawant Pathare. Its music was by Hemant Kumar and lyrics were by Kaife Azmi. The film has many popular songs sung by Lata Mangeshkar and Hemant Kumar. Anupama won the Filmfare Award in 1967 for Best Cinematography and was nominated for Best Film, Best Director, and Best Story for Rishikesh Mukherjee and Best Supporting Actress for Shashikala.
I must have been all of 13 or something when I saw it. The movie is really about this young girl whose father believes that she was the cause of her mother's death in childbirth. The relationship between the father and the daughter is that when the father is sober, he detests her presence. Yet when he's drunk, which he is most of the nights, he's indulgent, loving, gives her gifts, and she grows up this way, therefore becomes timid, becomes an introvert. It relates to me the fact that my father also, I must confess, was an alcoholic. Perhaps he had his own share of disappointments or sorrow, but I do know that towards the last few years of his life, for some reason, every time he was sober, my presence irritated him, and I was the only child. Like in the movie where Sharmila Tagore, Uma she's called, does not have a mother. My mother was not in India, she was studying in England, and that one year, and I was alone with my father, and I would see him every day deteriorate. You know, he would scorn at me and he would carp. And yet, when he was drunk, which happened most often by the afternoon or later, he was very indulgent and he would want me to sit with him. And not that he would have had anything to say, and he would play music of the time that he remembered, K.L. Saigal and Tyagaraja Bhagwat. And so I did not know how to receive him. In the movie Anupama, there is this maid who has actually been with the family, and she keeps counseling Uma and tells her that, your father is a good man, go up to him. We had a person in our cook called Kuttappan, and he was living at home, and he would keep telling me, your father is a good man, it's just that he's got this problem. And I would keep going to him because I was scared. In the daytime I would eat when my father was not there, or when he was away from the room where I was, in order that I avoid his gaze. And this is how I lived out most of my life. My father died in 1969. So this movie, and I saw it in 1968, left a completely shattering experience in me. And I realized that I had become very timid and scared and frightened because this is my only experience of a relationship. So that movie has left a very lasting impression in that sense. And yet there is a much more endearing sense of that movie. I believe I've become a sensitive human being largely because of that film. Because Sharmila Tagore, because of what she goes through, has a tremendous understanding of the pain of everybody else. And it comes through in her expressions, in her choice of words, in the way she relates. A lot of love, softness. And I became like that. I've become very timid, which is how she was. She falls in love with this poet who's an ordinary person. So there was a lot of love in her, and there was a lot of romanticism about her. And the beauty is there's this lovely song which she sings. She's in love with him. She doesn't say it. And the words that you must have known. It says, Kuch dil ne kaha, kuch bhi nahi.
Kuch dil ne kaha, कुछ भी नहीं.
It's like that for me, My heart talks to me, but मैं नहीं सुन रहा हूँ, कोई नहीं सुन रहा, कुछ सुनाई नहीं दे रहा है, but सुन रहा है. And then the song, it says something even more beautiful. He says, जीवन सूना ही रह गया, but सब कहते हैं कि बाहर आ गई.
जीवन तो सूना ही रहा, सब समझे आई है बाहर.
Everybody would say, Manakenappa, you're coming, your father is this, you belong to this family. There probably was a lot of external sense of, that I had a lot going, belonging to a family that I don't. But andar bahut sooni tha, there's a lot of sadness. And then I realized the lines again, which has stayed with me ever since my childhood, is, Kaliyon se koi pucha, hasti hai ya roti hai.
Kaliyon se koi puchta, hasti hai.
पता नहीं कि when you go to a bag, whether a flower is crying or happy. So I don't say I was misunderstood, but I have become, in a way, closeted within myself. So I don't know if people receive me the way I am. Toward the end of the film, she actually doesn't want to give in her to a love for the poet because she thinks she'll disappoint her father. So, though she has been treated badly, there is a lot of suppressed anger, as it has been in me, but it doesn't express itself. So I think a lot of us are trapped in a world of our own, unable to express ourselves. We get branded. Somebody says you're an introvert. Somebody says you're moody. There is an impact in your growing years of what you receive from outside. So this movie has left an extremely lasting impression on who I am, what I am. And yet it has shown me a side of myself that is endearing, that is soft, that is perhaps timid. But today I make it a point to consciously celebrate people. When I give somebody a personal impact, I don't say you're a good guy. I say this is how I experience you because these are the things that have touched me. That quality of being able to relate, I think, has come because of what life's lessons that I have gained from. To be fair to my father, while I make sometimes time and again consider him an aggressor, I think you learn a lot of lessons from your aggressor. Sharmila Tagore learned a lot the way her father was to become who she was. And a phenomenal performance, very sensitive, extremely endearing. And every expression of hers stayed with me. And I would often ask myself, is this the way I am? And even when she is betrothed to marry this other guy, and he comes to marry, but he chooses to marry Sashikala, he doesn't feel sad or she doesn't feel regretful. This is a reality. And yet there is somebody else pining away for her, whom she finally possibly gives expression to. Two songs that contrast in the movie are, one is that song when Tarun Bose comes home and his wife sings Dheere Dheere Machal. His wife is at the piano. It's completely romantic. It speaks so much of love. Dheere Dheere Machal, ae dile beqarar, koi aata hai, Dheere Dheere Machal, ae dile beqarar. And the contrasting song which talks about कुछ दिल ने कहा कुछ भी नहीं कुछ दिल ने सुना कुछ भी नहीं. I worked across the world and I worked with about 40,000 people now over the last 20 odd years, and I surely find there are a lot of people who resonate with this sense of sadness, the sense of not being able to connect with their folks. We're all hurting in our own way, but the joy is that to be able to wake up and become mindful and say, this is also true, but can I learn from that? That's what that movie taught me. And you also asked me about a real life person. And the person that came to my mind immediately and has stayed with me again, that was my sister-in-law, Shanti Ranganathan. Shanti was an very affectionate, warm, she still is, and she's one of the finest people I know. She keeps our family together. But she went through her own sense of health. She's very timid, very soft, very quiet. But then when the tragedy hit her, she has kind of risen like a phoenix. I mean, today she's a Padma Shri awardee. Kofi Annan has celebrated her. She's known over the world for who she is. She created TTK Hospital and rehabilitated so many people who suffered drug abuse and alcoholism. Today she runs a school in Manjakudi, which is phenomenal. And that's the kind of person she became. And also the important thing, I think, is that for each of us, for whether it is Shanti in her life or Uma in the movie or me, I think each of us has had somebody who has made that difference. In that movie, there is this poet, Ashok Dharmender, not a very wealthy man, who supports Uma and helps her become who she is. There was my teacher called R. Srinath, who was the principal of Vidya Mandir. Well, I lost my father in 1969. I was living with my grandfather, very difficult man to live with. He was a politician. He was a finance minister in the Nehru cabinet, very well known, very well regarded intellectual. But Mr. Srinath would come every evening, take me for a walk, spend an hour with me and drop me back. So these are people who have left me with a tremendous feeling of gratitude. The movie, therefore, it has taught me what it is to be real, what I can do with my reality, given the fact that I have no control over what happens. I only have a control over how I can respond. It has made me believe that I have choice. And that is why this movie is significant. This movie really tells you that does Uma, the character, have choice? And she does. The choice is, can she finally, given the fact that she has had a lousy childhood, that there is love coming to her life, does she want to exercise the choice of surrendering to that love or deny it? And that is the choice that I think each of us is constantly faced with.
While there is a choice, when you have been through a very traumatic or very difficult phase in life, to be able to transcend that and to come into your own, so to speak, what is the challenge there and what makes that transition?
Because I suffered like I did, for much of my life, I sensed and I saw myself as being negative. Everything was going wrong. And at some point of time, I think when I went to XLRI, my teacher asked me this very simple question. He said, you seem to be happy being miserable. Is this how you want to live your life? Or would you like to make a shift? And I think the fact that he made this assertion that I had a choice is really what shifted me. I think the transformation happened because somewhere within me was the need, an unfulfilled need to start experiencing joy and peace in my life. And when that need was being given a voice by my teacher who asked me if I want to live the way I do or I want to shift, I think that was the moment of truth.
So your perception changes.
Perception changes, mind focus shifts. So I think the point is to really look into the mirror and ask yourself this question, what do you want?
What you're saying is very relevant to a lot of people today who are going through trauma or difficult situations, largely because of their perception of their own reality.
Can I accept myself for who I am? Yes, there's a lot about me which is lousy, but there's a lot about me which is good. May I accept that? Because when I embrace both what I don't like about me and what I like about me, it becomes easier to live. My mother would say this to me, are you looking at the doors that are closed or are you looking at the windows that are open? Right now, for instance, my work is completely dried up. But then somebody said, why don't you kind of write to people and say you can talk with them? And somewhere 3 or 4 people respond to say, yeah, we like the idea. So somewhere a window is opening. Fourth thing is, what do I believe? Because ultimately, belief is what plays out. So what do I believe about myself and what do I believe about people I see? Because if I believe there is goodness, I'll find evidence of that. My own mother is old and time and again I used to get irritated, but I started saying, no, I want to believe that, she genuinely wants me to be happy. And I'm now seeing my conversations with her are far less stressful than they were. So what do I believe and therefore do I see? And finally, I think it's about the lovely book which came out in the 80s called Mind Over Mood. Ultimately, thought impacts feeling. So if I tell myself I'm lousy, so shall it be. If I say I'm good, so it might be. So can I start looking at what is available rather than what is not? Can I start believing in the goodness of people or in my own goodness and therefore seeing evidence of that? And finally, what is the thought that I bring to bear? Because my thought impacts the way I feel. If I can think that I can, perhaps I will. This is just a question of being a little more mindful and kind and compassionate to myself. Simple. And I think this movie, it actually says this, because that girl, Uma, and Sharmila Tagore has done an enormously phenomenal job, because she actually makes you recognize that to be human is to be alive. Because what the world needs are people who are alive. The old poem that you must have read, Longfellow's poem, which says, departing, leave behind footprints on the sands of time. So I think each of us can leave footprints if we choose to.
Wonderful. The poignancy of her situation and the sensitivity with which she's able to look at the world. I want to thank you for being on Real and Real Characters. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and a much more sensitizing experience, I should say. So thank you, Srinath ji. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
That was TT Srinath for you on Real and Real Characters. For this week's movie quiz, here is the question. He is a painfully shy young man in this Hindi romantic comedy film who lacks self-confidence, fails to stand up for his convictions, lets everyone walk all over him, and so cannot get the woman he loves. Which film is this? Who are the hero and heroine? Who is the character in the film who helps the hero overcome his shyness? Please send your answers to the WhatsApp or email address given here. The persons who send the correct answers will be invited to be a guest on our show, Real and Real Characters. The answer to the previous episode's questions are: who plays the role parallel to Karna? The answer: Rajnikant. What is the name of this character in the movie? Answer: Surya. The name indicates that he represents the son of the sun god, because of whom Kunti in the Mahabharata got this child. What is the name of the film and who is its director? Answer: Talapati Maniratnam. If you like this show, please do click the like icon, share, comment, and subscribe to the show.